I'm JP Tuesday.
And I'm Kiki Cannon. As lifelong Disney fans, the work of countless talented Disney creatives have shaped our lives.
Now, as the Disney catalog expands, we're taking a journey through film and television to discover if that spark that shaped us as children lives on in adulthood.
Does your favorite Disney media still cast that same spell? Join us as we find out. We are Rewatching the Magic.
Hi, Kiki.
Samantha? Who am I kidding? I don't podcast with a Samantha.
If you haven't figured that out, we are doing Frozen 2. And, it was just not too long ago that they announced that they are doing Frozen 3. Because, of course, they are. But yeah, Frozen 2, the sequel to the big hit Frozen. When it was announced, after Frozen 1 came out, and they had the big announcement of Frozen 2, what was your first thought? How were they going to follow up on it? Was a sequel necessary? Stuff like that.
Well, for most Disney movies, sequels aren't necessary, but they're expected these days.
If a movie makes any kind of money, it's going to be a sequel. That's just Hollywood in general. It's every studio is looking for their next hit franchise, and when something becomes a hit, they're going to turn it into a franchise. We talked about this last week with Absent-Minded Professor. That was a surprise hit, and they did make a sequel out of it, which for Disney was not the norm. Walt had a famous phrase after the Three Little Pigs came out: you can't follow up pigs with pigs. Meaning that you can't just give people the same story all over again. And if Disney had that business practice today, they probably wouldn't be doing well. Say what you will about Disney now, but if every studio is trying to find the next big hit franchise and you have a hit movie in your hands and you're not taking advantage of it, that is leaving money on the table.
Imagine if they defrosted Walt's head and was like, hey, look at how we're running the company now.
There are so many things I could say that Walt would say, but I can't say them on this podcast.
Because we're generally PG-13. The thing is, though, is that, again, it's like, did we need a Frozen sequel? No. Do we ever need a sequel to anything? Probably not. But sometimes it works. We might as well just jump into the story of this, because with the exception of new cast and the minor changes of parents, we've already been through these people.
Yeah.
So
they were kind of already teasing Frozen 2 pretty much right after the first film came out, because what happened right after is we got that short Frozen Fever, which does get referenced in this movie.
In the post-credits sequence, yeah.
And then there was that Olaf's Frozen Adventure with that was the one that was paired up with Coco. We talked about that a little bit when we talked Coco all those years ago. So they was already saying, hey, people want more Frozen, we're going to give them more Frozen. And Frozen was such a sudden hit, and they didn't even know it was a hit. They were really rushing to put that into the parks. Here's, okay, we need to get these characters into parks. We need some sort of attraction. Frozen sing-along at Disney World. What can we do really quick? A Maelstrom in Epcot is a Norwegian ride. Put some Frozen animatronics in there and call it a ride. But yeah, yeah, you're right. Pretty much all of the major players from Frozen 1 comes back. Idina Menzel back as Elsa, Kristen Bell back as Anna, Josh Gad back as Olaf, and Jonathan Groff back as Kristoff. With a other, like Alan Tudyk is back here. He has a little bit of a vocal cameo as reprising the Duke of Wesselton in one part, and he does play some minor characters in the film. But yeah, let's kind of get into what this movie really is about. As the big question from that first movie is, just where were Anna and Elsa's parents going when their ship went down?
And the answer is, it was Belle and Beast's wedding.
I thought it was. I thought it was Rapunzel and Eugene's wedding.
No, the fandom very, very solidly came down on the fact that it was Belle and Beast's wedding. And no, the answer was they were going to some magical island in the North Sea or whatever to try to figure out where Elsa's magic powers came from.
I mean, of all of the questions left unanswered in that first movie, it's a hell of a one to start with. Like, where were they going? Why did they leave? What was the big, and to find that out, and we get more world building, more lore of the history of Arendelle as a kingdom. We're introduced to this enchanted forest that is outside of Arendelle's borders there. All right, I'm going to say this right now. I'm fairly certain most of the people listening to this podcast have seen Frozen 2. So I'm just going to rip the Band-Aid off here. Big plot point of Frozen 2 is that Elsa and Anna's grandfather committed war crimes and attacked a tribe of basically native people for having a different belief system than them.
Yeah, in the movie they're called the Northuldra, and they are very much patterned on the Sami people. This whole plot is actually based on, like, a historical thing. It's not like an ancient historical thing either. We're looking at Frozen and it's like a long time ago in a magical kingdom or whatever. Like, no, the story this is based on happened in, like, the early 80s. So, yeah, I mean, this is not ancient history. This is like, if you're listening to this, you might have been alive during it. How's that for awful?
So, Anna and Elsa's grandfather, he sees the magic in the forest as a threat, and the fact that these people can basically harness magic and magical spirits live in peace among them. That's a threat. So he basically starts war against these people, tries to slaughter them, kills their chief, which upsets the gods and just shields the enchanted forest from the world. And yeah, I mean, they're not called gods in the movie. They're called elemental spirits. But basically, yeah. All I'm going to say is that it's been a while. It's been a bit since I've seen Frozen 2. But seeing that intro where Anna Elsa's father talks about the spirits that, fire, earth, water, air, and in my own brain is that once upon a time all four nations lived in harmony, and then the Fire Nation attacked.
Yeah. I mean, there's a reason why that resonates so much. That's a common enough belief system across so many cultures. I think that's why it works so well in, the Last Airbender stuff. And I think it's why it works so well here, The stuff about the dam, that happened to the Sami people, like I said, in Norway in the early 80s. But the thing about the king that's afraid of the magic in the neighboring tribe is also based on historical fact, because that also happened to the Sami people. Because there was another Scandinavian king. This was back during the 17th century or something. But he was so convinced that the Sami people were magic users that he put into the law that if the Sami were suspected of magic, they should be shown absolutely no mercy at all. It's weird because even the more out there fairy tale aspects of this are still weirdly based on history. Disney worked with the Sami Council, even though the Northuldra people are not the same as the Sami people. They are based on them, and Disney wanted to make sure that they were culturally sensitive. They worked together with the Sami Council to make sure that they were portraying a version of these people as correctly as possible. And interestingly enough, if you go on Disney Plus and you look in the extras for Frozen 2, you will find a first for Disney, which is that this entire movie is available on Disney Plus in the Sami language. So, interesting little thing that you can go and watch.
It's also interesting that Anna Elsa's father perpetuates what we find out to be the lie of the North Uldra people turning on the Arendelle people, even though his wife is North Uldran and would know the truth.
Actually, I don't think that either of them knew the truth. Because, skipping ahead, of course, when they get into the forest, when our main group there gets into the forest, and they discover that there's the group of Northuldra and the group of Arendelle soldiers that have been stuck there for the last 30 years. They are still fighting it out, and the Arendelle soldiers are still convinced, and truthfully so. I don't think they're lying when they say that they think the North Uldra started the fight, and the North Uldra are saying, why would we start the fight? What would we have to gain by that? And the North Uldra are confused by the accusation. So somehow, and we still don't quite know how at least in the movie, it was kind of unclear to me how the two kids got out before the mist enveloped the forest. You know?
That's the king is not, Anna and Elsa's father is knocked unconscious and he's put on a cart. Fine. The person who puts him on there is the person who grows up to be their mother. Fine. And she hides herself so they won't notice a North Aldrin on the cart. Fine. We never see who took them out or how they got out.
Yeah. It's kind of a little weird because it makes it seem like as soon as the grandfather attacks the Northuldra leader, because it's a very brutal and dishonorable attack. He attacks from behind an unarmed opponent that he is invited there supposedly to talk peace. And he sneaks up behind the Northuldra leader, draws his sword, and strikes him dead before he even knows he's there. And this angers the forest spirits who, knock the king off the ledge to his death. Very Disney death. Okay? So the spirits enact justice in that and then encase the forest seemingly almost immediately. Because no one else in that group has time to get out.
Yeah, because it looks like it all happened so fast. The murder, the conflict, the fog.
And yet, these two kids are able to get out on a cart carried by someone. And we're never quite sure how that happened. I mean, I know it's kind of one of those, the movie needed to happen kind of thing. But,
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is that I do think that when all this went down, the way that the soldiers, the Arendelle people kind of saw it happen, they just saw the kind of reaction of the guy having just been stabbed and maybe he flailed or whatever, and they thought like he attacked the king because he was like pulling the sword from his back or something, whatever. And they were like, oh, he must have attacked first, or they got into a fight and the king drew his sword in self-defense, or, your first thought is not going to have been like, my king snuck up behind an ally and just murdered him. Your thought coming across like two people struggling and your king falling off a cliff is going to be like, oh, that guy must have just killed my king. They were in a struggle. And each side is going to blame the other for striking first. So I do believe that when their father says, like, they struck first, he was being honest that he was telling the story as he understood.
There is another loose thread from the first movie that is addressed in this movie. And that is Elsa herself. Not necessarily the origin of her powers, but the end of that original story. She ran off. She did the entire Let It Go sequence, which I love that in this movie she's embarrassed about it.
I think that was such a meta joke on just how ubiquitous that song became.
Because there's twice in the movie where they reference Let It Go. First is Olaf doing the little shimmy that Elsa does in the song, and she's kind of yeah, that's me. And then when she sees her memories of her doing the song, and she's kind of cringing at it.
Actually, they reference it 3 times because when Olaf recaps the first movie, he does a little bit of the the song with the like, Ice Castle all alone, Ice Castle all alone, go away, Anna, like, you know. So even though he doesn't reference the like lyrics specifically, he does kind of do a couple of the moves in there as well.
But I want to reference the song for a moment, which is basically her, Elsa, becoming free. Free of, I no longer have to hold back my powers. I can let loose. I can cut loose, and I'm no longer tied to the responsibility to be Queen of Arendelle. And then Anna comes back. Anna comes in right there. Arendelle's in deep, 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 deep snow. There's that line that I don't know if we referenced it when we talked about the original movie, but it's right there where Elsa says, I can never be free, because she has to go back and take those responsibilities as Queen of Arendelle. The fact that that is the kind of crux of this movie, because she says she's happy. She says, oh, I'm doing, I like being Queen of Arendelle. I like all of this. But does she? Does she really? And then by the end of this movie, she is again finally able to show herself and be herself, and is finally able to relinquish that responsibility onto Anna, who has stepped up. In this entire movie is Anna's story of stepping up to the responsibility of being queen and becoming queen at the end of the movie. While it's Elsa finally able to let that responsibility go because she can trust her sister with that responsibility. Now, granted, she has another responsibility as the bridge, the fifth spirit that keeps the other four in check. But there's that happiness with her at the end of the movie that, did she really have it at the end of the first movie? She is truly free. She no longer is burdened by that responsibility and can truly be the person she wants to be versus the person she has to be.
I've read that they really wanted this to be Elsa's true freedom. The first movie was about freedom to let other people see who she really was, that she didn't have to hide her powers anymore. And this is more the freedom of who she was meant to be. Because if you watch the first movie, it's really obvious that Elsa was not meant to be Queen of Arendelle. Anna is really more clued into what's going on in the kingdom and what the people need, and
Yeah, she's the one that goes out into the village and talks to the people, while Elsa is kind of locked up in that room.
I mean, and that's not really Elsa's fault. She was taught that she had to hide her magic. Now we know why, because her father was raised by a man who was absolutely terrified of magic and people who used magic, to the point that he committed war crimes over it.
Also, one line to help our animators. How do you like your new permafrost, Olaf? Because these animators couldn't keep animating little flurries over Olaf for the whole movie.
Yeah, that was a cute little thing.
And I do like how the four each have a dedicated story in the movie. Like I said, with Elsa, it's her becoming who she was meant to be versus who she has to be. For Anna, it's, as Christoph says in this movie, she started out that first movie very naive about the world, and her stepping up and growing to be the leader she was always meant to be. For Olaf, it's growing up. He is only, what, a few years old?
Well, since he became like a kind of permanent fixture, he would be 3.
So he is still learning about the world in that regard, also learning about himself, his own feelings, his own wants, his own needs. There's that shocking moment where he says, I feel anger in me. And he is scared because he is feeling anger essentially for the first time.
Yeah, and it shocks Anna because she's never known him to be angry.
So part of this is Olaf growing up and learning about his own feelings and stuff. And then there's Kristoff, who, yes, he wants to propose to Anna, and he's messing it up, and he's saying the wrong things, and it's always the wrong time. But it's also him growing as a person, as they say in the movie, letting down his guard, becoming a more understanding partner to Anna. You know, by the end of that movie, he rides in and he says, what do you need? Putting her wants and needs above his own, even though he is more, throughout most of this movie, is focused on what he wants to do. Yes, it's proposing marriage, but he's not really considering her feelings. You know, he's trying to be romantic and stuff, and it's not the right time to be romantic because Anna is worried about her sister. She's worried about these people. So he has to grow into a more understanding partner in that regard, and he does do that.
You know, I see it a little bit differently. He is constantly throughout the movie, the earlier part of the movie, trying to protect her. You know, like she's trying to follow Elsa to protect Elsa and be there for Elsa. And he's like, you know, can you stop just running off into danger, you know, and stay here and let me protect you, you know? I think the point where, like, yes, he spends most of the movie trying to propose to her and it doesn't quite work out. And a lot of that is on her because she jumps to the weirdest conclusions. Like, girl, shut up and just listen to his words.
It's in character because, again, she also is a shut-in just as much as Elsa is a shut-in. So
and I get that, like, her first boyfriend was kind of always speaking in doublespeak, you know, so maybe that's her only frame of reference, you know.
we need a therapist in Arendelle.
Yeah. You know, Kristoff's never been like that. He's very upfront and honest in what he says, which is why everybody likes Kristoff. However, what I think his big kind of moment is, he keeps trying to say, like, don't go off and do that, Anna. Don't follow her into that. Let me stay here. And, you know, the moment he kind of grows into his own is when he looks at her, and, yes, he does save her from the rock troll, but he looks at her and he says, "What do you need?" And she says, "I need to get to the dam." And he doesn't question, why do you need to get to the dam? What are you going to do when you get to the dam? She just says, "This is what I need." And he's like, "You got it. That's what we're going to do. No questions asked. You have stated what you need from me, and I am going to do it."
Trust.
I trust that you know what you're doing in this situation, even if it's dangerous, even if it seems absolutely bonkerdoodles. You have done that, and I trust your judgment. And up until that point in the movie, he has always kind of questioned it. Why are you following Elsa? Why can't you stay here? And then it kind of comes full circle when she tries to explain to him, "I'm sorry that I kept going after Elsa. I just thought," and he stops her in the middle of her explanation and says the greatest line in this movie, which is, "My love is not fragile." You don't have to explain to me why you needed to go take care of your sister. You don't have to explain to me your motivations in your familial love. You don't have to. I'm not jealous of your other relationships with people. My love is not fragile. Man, Kristoff is awesome.
That
And
is,
that's why he gets to be Prince Consort of Arendelle.
that's what we call positive masculinity.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Kristoff, positive masculine figure. I don't care if he talks to reindeer, that just makes him all the hotter.
Reindeers are better than people.
Reindeers are super better than people.
Now that on Kristoff, the make good, because it's time to talk about the songs in this movie. Yes, the Lopez's are back, and they wrote some, as they always do. Just a couple of months ago, they were taking us down the witch's road, and they came back for this movie and wrote some bangers for this movie.
Damn you, Lopez's!
Yeah, and the first one I want to talk about, since we just talked about Kristoff. Sorry, Jonathan Groff, we did not give you an actual song in the first movie. Here, take this banger that is an awesome power ballad.
And a boy band power ballad sung by one person.
Yeah. Lost in the Woods. It is my favorite song in this movie is Lost in the Woods. I don't know. It just is. It is my favorite song. It is, and I have, that is on my, that is on my rotation. It's been in my rotation since this movie came out. It is still a banger to me.
This is my second favorite song in the movie. We'll get to my favorite song in the movie in a bit.
Mm-hmm. But, like, the references to other things, like, there's the obvious, the Queen reference.
Yeah.
Like, it's the reference to the music video for Bohemian Rhapsody with the 4 members of Queen. It's Kristoff and 3 reindeer. And it's like, Kristoff using the pine cone as a microphone, cupping his ear like he's in a studio. It is awesome. Let's go back to when this movie was in the theater. You saw this movie for the first time. You're sitting in your chair and you hear that little reprise of "Reindeers Are Better Than People," and then you hear Sven singing now. Yes, it is still Jonathan Groff doing the voice. But you see that little magical glow, and then he's talking. I thought, is this magical enchanted forest making Sven talk? No, we are in Kristoff's head. I just want to know, what was your reaction to all of that?
At first, I was like, okay, let's see where this is going. And then once I kind of realized where it was going, I just cackled throughout the rest of the thing. I mean, this was so funny to me the first time I saw it. It's still funny, but it is, to me, watching it for the first time, I was like, this is one of the funniest things. Because, I mean, I remember when this kind of like, I don't know, I mean, it's a little bit boy band, but honestly, it's more like, I don't know, Bon Jovi-ish.
I mean,
In some parts, I don't know how to describe it. It kind of jumps around.
I mean, when I heard it, I was thinking 80s power ballad. Like you're hearing this at a Journey concert or something.
Yeah, it's a little bit Journey, a little bit like, Bon Jovi power ballad, yeah. And so, like, I mean, we're old enough to remember when that stuff was like super popular. When I was like, okay, that's what they're going for, it made me laugh so hard. And Jonathan Groff just absolutely nails it. Because I mean, it's him with multiple layered vocals,
Hmm.
and it works so well.
And you had mentioned this off mic, so we'll do a little bit of a sidebar to the Weezer music video of this. And I love
Which I literally did not know existed until I was looking at the extras on Disney Plus. I am so mad that I did not know this existed until like just now.
Yeah, and it is a shot for shot remake of the scene from the movie in live action the with the Weezer in the roles of Kristoff and Sven and the other reindeer. And Kristen Bell is in the video as Anna.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, what?
I'm pretty sure this is the first time she's ever played Anna in live action.
I don't know. I think there was like one or two like stuff she did for the parks or whatever, like Christmas things or something.
But like I do like that, they didn't have to make it a shot for shot remake, but I'm glad that they did. And Rivers Cuomo as dressed as Kristoff doing the whole thing. It's like
He even does the pinecone thing. I mean, it really is a shot for shot remake.
Which they didn't have to do, especially since they released this right when the movie came out. So there was a chance people who hadn't seen the movie were going to see the music video first. It's also very weird that in the lead up to this movie, the first song they released, and they thought it was going to be the next Let It Go, the first big song they released from this movie is Into the Unknown. To this day, whenever they do something Frozen 2 related, it's always the song Into the Unknown. It's none of the other songs from the movie. Like if you're at the Disney parks and you see the parade and Anna Elsa is on the car, you'll get like Let It Go and Into the Unknown.
We often talk about like best song Oscars. That was the song that they submitted to the Oscars. It was up for the Oscars. It lost the Oscar. Do you know what won the Oscar against it that year?
Not off the top of my head, no.
It was an original Elton John Bernie Taupin song from Rocket Man called I'm Gonna Love Me Again. The $64,000 question. Can you quote any lyric from that song that is not in the title?
No.
Can you hum any of that tune to that song? It is an
No.
Elton John Bernie Taupin song. Come on.
No. I'm sorry.
Neither can I.
I'm just saying it should have been Show Yourself.
I'm going to say it should have been neither of those songs. I'm going to say it should have either been Lost in the Woods or my second favorite song from this movie, It'll All Make Sense When I'm Older. Because those are the two songs that stick in your head. I mean, I get that they wanted Into the Unknown to be the song, or Show Yourself, because they are both sung by Elsa, and I love Idina Menzel. I mean, she is the great Adele Dazeem, and we worship, but neither of those songs are up to the level that the Lopez's usually give us. If any of these songs are earworms for me, it's either Lost in the Woods or it's Everything Makes Sense When I'm Older.
It's weird because Olaf's song didn't really stick with me. It, again, maybe just personal preference. It's like it didn't, like if gun to my head, cut one song from the movie, that's the one I'm cutting.
I thought that was okay, just out of sheer, humor, Lost in the Woods kind of comes out of nowhere and smacks you in the face because you are not expecting Christoph Power Ballad at that moment.
Mm-hmm.
And Jonathan Groff he delivers on that one, okay? And there are a lot of funny lines in that. But as far as the reason I came home from the theater and messaged you and went, oh my God, I cannot wait to talk about Frozen 2 on the podcast, it was Olaf's song that did it. That song hit me so hard. I was like, that is the most millennial song to ever appear in a Disney movie.
And it quotes a meme at the end of it. This is fine.
Yeah. But the thing is that I talked to a few people after coming back from seeing that film. Obviously, you weren't one of them. But, I was talking to a few people after coming back from that film, and I was like, did that Olaf song hit you as hard as it hit me? And they were like, oh my God, yes. Because, every word of that was just, I don't know. It was like the entire thing of, I think if I'd have watched it when I was a kid, I would have been like, this is the funny song I'm going to sing, wandering around the house. But if you hear that song for the first time as an adult, it kind of punches you in the head and makes you want to go sit into a corner and reevaluate your life. That thing hits like a Bo Burnham song to me.
And it is in the character, because again, he's learning more about himself and his life, and he has all of these, like any 3-year-old would, he would have all of these questions. And, he, right at the beginning of the movie, asking Anna all of these questions. Do you ever worry about this? Do you ever, and like, no, it's not something I think about. And I can't wait to be as old as you are, so I won't have to worry about important things. Which is something a child would say, a 3-year-old would say, because, it makes sense.
How many times when you were a kid did, adults around you tell you, well, you'll understand when you're older?
Yeah.
that you had questions about how the world works, and you asked adults around you, and they tried to explain it and you didn't understand it, or they just didn't want to explain it, or they didn't know how to explain it. And so they just went like, well, it'll make sense when you're older. Like, just accept it for now. It'll make sense when you're older.
And now we're older and it still doesn't make sense.
Yeah, which is the entire point of the song. You know, it probably would not occur to a kid watching the movie. They'll take it at face value. Of course, everything will make sense when I'm older. They're going to see it in exactly the same way that Olaf sees it. But an adult watching that fully understands the horrific irony of that song. And man, watching that in the theater for the first time, I was like, please stop punching me in the head. Please, Frozen 2. I came to this movie for a good time. Why are you doing this to me? And it was all in that, like, happy little ditty that Olaf sings. And boy, oh, it's such a, like, happy, catchy song with such a horrific, dark message behind it. But can we talk about why the two Elsa songs do not work for me?
Go
I don't
ahead.
know if they work for you, but they really don't work for me. I mean, they're not bad songs. I don't think the Lopez's write bad songs. You know?
Mm-hmm.
I think half asleep they'd write a decent tune, you know? But for some reason, the two songs that they really give to move Elsa's story forward, the Into the Unknown and the Show Yourself, don't really work for me because, you know, I heard Into the Unknown, but one of our friends, friend of the show, Beth Kinderman, go look up her music, bethkinderman.bandcamp.com. When this movie came out, she called this a refusal of the call song. You know, it's Joseph Campbell's idea, and she's got a great album out that is, you know, based on that entire hero's journey Joseph Campbell thing. Please go look it up and show her some love. But the thing is that I'm not sure I entirely agree, because it kind of starts out that way, but it starts out that way for, like, I don't know, half a verse maybe.
Like, the first part of the song is very much the refusal of the call. We talked about this when we talked about Finding Dory, how Marlin said, we had our adventure, we don't need to have another one. Elsa is saying the same thing. I had my adventure, I don't want to go on another one. I hear your call, I'm shutting you out. I do not want to, I refuse to go into the unknown. But by that second part of the song, I want to go into the unknown. It's like, it's that, what I was saying before, the responsibility. She accepted that she has to have this responsibility as queen, so she cannot go on another adventure. She has to be an adult and do adult things, but she still wants to go because she's not happy in her life.
If there's a problem with this movie, I like the movie, but it's not a perfect movie. And it's kind of within this song too. Most of the first part of the song is like, okay, I hear the voice, which is kind of just what they call it in the movie. The bit that Aurora, the musician, does, that little lilting tune that Elsa keeps hearing, which I won't even try to redo because that is not my range. And it's not Idina Menzel's range either, because you notice she does it like 2 octaves down. Elsa's got the lyrics of like, I hear that and I'm gonna shut it out, and that's not a voice that's ringing in my ear, you know. Even if I wanted to go, I'm spoken for. I'm the Queen of Arendelle. Everything that I love is in Arendelle. I'm not going to go. Like you said, she's had her adventure, and she would risk everything if she left, you know? And then, like, she keeps on going of, like, she calls it a siren, you know, it's that, the mythical idea of a siren, you know, a really pretty singing voice that lures sailors to their doom, you know? Her parents died on a shipwreck, you know, it's like,
Yeah.
So, but the thing is like, and then she's like, but there is a part of me that longs to go, and by the end of it, she's just like running out trying to find voice, you know? And if there's a problem with this movie and a problem with this song is like, you don't really get the setup that well. You know? She's like, I'm not gonna go, I'm not gonna go. Okay, I'm gonna go. And it's like, well, why? What made you change your mind? There's not enough of that in the song.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, that I get. I think, you know, like I said, the rest of the movie is filling in that context that should have been told at the beginning of the movie.
Yeah, and the thing is that the show yourself has similar problems in that I like it and I want it to be better than I find it. There's not much setup with a lot of things in this movie, and show yourself is one of those things. We find out like 5 minutes before we get this song about the concept of the fifth spirit, and then all of a sudden Elsa is in a cave being like, show yourself, fifth spirit, and then her mother like shows up and is like, it's you, and she's like, oh wow, I'm the fifth spirit, I'm the answer I've been waiting for. And I'm like, have you really been waiting for that answer? Because you only had that question 5 minutes ago. You didn't even know that existed until 5 minutes ago.
I don't know.
You have not been waiting for this answer all your life. You've been waiting for this answer for like a horse ride on a magical horse for 5 minutes.
And it's that part of the song, you know, you are the one I've been waiting for all of my life. I am the one I've been waiting for all of my life.
I mean, yes, that is a powerful idea. Just in general, as like a, you know, okay, yes, empowerment, love yourself, blah, 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 whatever. But as a plot point in a movie, Elsa is the fifth spirit that ties the spirits to the people world and the whatever. It doesn't work.
It really feels, especially Show Yourself. Like, I prefer Show Yourself. I think Show Yourself is a better song than Into the Unknown, but both are trying to do the same thing. The Lopez's are trying to make another Let It Go.
Yeah. I mean, out of context, like if this was just a pop song on the radio, that's like, this is a song about self-empowerment, and it's sung by Katy Perry or something, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Kind of a banger of a song, you know? I felt like there's something out there I've been waiting for all my life. Oh, look, I look in the mirror and it's me. You know, change a couple of these lyrics, and this is just like a really good self-empowerment song. What's the thing I've been waiting for all my life? Oh, it's me. I'm the super powerful boss babe, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like, change a few of these lyrics, and this is just like a Katy Perry empowerment song, you know? And it's awesome, and it's like, you know, Hot 100 stuff, you know? Great song.
Here's your 100th Grammy.
Yeah, sure. Win all the Grammys, go Lopez's. As a song that moves a plot forward in the context of a musical, not one of their best.
It's an 11 o'clock number for the sake of an 11 o'clock number.
It is, and I don't think it works as well as most of their songs. We've talked multiple times on this show about how much we like their work.
Again,
this is not one of their better songs.
Again, everyone was captivated by Down the Witch's Road just a few months ago.
Yeah, I mean, Disney pumped that for all it was worth. There's like 18 versions of that song. So, you know, this is, by the way, if you want to hear the earliest version of that song written by the Lopez's, watch yourself some Frozen 2, because while we're talking about Frozen 2 songs, All Is Found, go listen to that song real carefully. Real carefully. Listen to the music in that song. There's gonna be some very familiar sounding progressions in that song.
Wouldn't be the first time a songwriter has reused an idea.
Yeah, not at all. Go back and listen to a very first episode of our podcast where we talk about The Little Mermaid and Little Shop of Horrors.
Yeah.
But as I was listening back to this movie, having now just lived through the time of Down the Witch's Road, drilling into all of our brains, they start singing All Is Found, and I'm like, oh, this sounds eerily familiar in a not quite finished sense. And it's a very, very nice song. This song works really well, I feel.
And then hearing that little part again inside of Show Yourself.
Yeah. I mean, they're all well put together songs. I just don't feel like they work in the context of moving the plot of a musical forward.
You want to talk about a song that's going to move the plot of the musical forward, but it's a song that I would not say is... I don't know how many people would say it's their favorite, but it's probably the most plot relevant song in the movie is The Next Right Thing.
Yeah, I wish this was a more singable song, because this is maybe the most important song in the movie.
And Kristen Bell put a lot of emotion into it. Granted, Anna is on the verge of tears as she's singing it, and Kristen Bell puts that emotion into it, but it doesn't make it a memorable song because of it. That's the thing. It's great acting in a song, and the song is the most plot relevant of the entire movie, I wish it was better.
The thing is that this happens right after Olaf dies.
That is a shocker. Now, that is the thing. I'm in the theater. I'm watching this movie. As far as we're aware, you know, Elsa had her big coming out moment, because that's pretty much what it was.
Yeah.
In Show Yourself. And then she freaking dies. So, of course, she is the source of the magic. Olaf is a product of the magic. What happens when a powerful magician dies? All of their magic stops working, which, of course, Olaf dies. And I'm sitting in the theater is, they are not going to kill off Olaf. Do they know how marketable this character is? No. Oh, there are children in this theater. They're going to start crying.
I mean, I was crying in the theater. I mean, and I am, I know how films work. So, like, I knew that there was going to be a point at the end of the movie where they were going to bring Olaf back. So, like, I knew this was like a temporary death. But it's such an effective scene. And it's so well acted.
Josh Gad does such a great job in that scene.
And what's so funny is even rewatching for this podcast, knowing what happens, I'm still tearing up at that. Because it's such a well-acted, well-written scene.
Because Josh Gad, he's still doing the... Now, granted, Olaf's voice is just his voice. That's it. But it's such a happy and positive voice, and he's still doing it while trying to say, Anna, you're going to have to do the rest of this on your own because I'm not going to be here anymore. And it's such a gut punch hearing this very happy and positive voice saying, I'm going to die, you're on your own, kid.
Well, and the thing is that it is like a young child's understanding of death. Especially of their own mortality. He understands I'm not going to be here, but it's, it really is not the full weight of that. He is not capable of processing.
He at least understands, oh no, something is happening to me. Something must have happened to Elsa. And that's enough for him to understand, okay, this is it. This is the end. But I just love that realization. Oh, a flurry. Wait, I'm flurrying. Something must have happened to Elsa. Uh-huh.
The idea of, there's that horrible gut punch of she is holding Olaf because she can't really do anything else. And it's such a beautiful cutaway because we don't actually see him disintegrate.
That would have been a lot of work on the animators, going to be really honest.
Well, also it would have been really traumatic for children.
Yeah.
So instead, he becomes like slightly more transparent, and then it follows one of his snowflakes out, and then you see like a flurry of snow that then kind of settles into a pile.
We cut to, yes, this character has a name. It's never said in the movie. Our little fire lizard, Bernie, who just lowers his head. It's like
I like the little salamander understands that somehow.
Well, he is also an elemental spirit, so he would
Yeah, but it's just the animals in Disney films, whether or not they're elemental spirits or not,
Mhm.
has the always seemed to know what's up more than anyone else,
Animals in Disney movie just happen to be magic, and I accept that.
Oh yeah, I'm not mad at it. I think it's interesting. Sven always knows what's going on more than any of the humans,
Mhm.
Anyway, once we get over we're not over it, but once we have the horrific tragedy of the disintegrating Olaf, they focus on the next right thing, which I wish this song were more of an earworm, because I love the idea behind this song. I love the message. I think it's important as a motto,
And the fact that this is 2019 and the year that would follow this movie.
And then the year that would follow that one, and the year that would follow that one, and the year that one. Yeah.
And I like that it's a message that is woven throughout the entire movie, which is why I say this song is so plot centric. Right at the beginning of the movie, the trolls say the future is uncertain. All you can do is the next right thing. And that gets said multiple times in the movie, culminating in this song. And that's what she does. She stands up. She keeps going. She could, and that is the ultimate growth moment for Anna. It is when she truly grows to become the leader she was always meant to be. Because she could just sit in that cave and cry and just give up on everything, but that's not the right thing to do.
Or, the other thing that happened is, Elsa's kind of quote unquote final act, before she freezes, is to send the message of what really happened, because in the cave place that she's gone is where she learns the truth about what their grandfather did, and that the dam that the Arendellians built was really a trick, and all of that. And she used her power to send that final message to Anna. And Anna could have stayed in the cave, but of course she would have just stayed there until she died or whatever. But she also could have just left and kept up the lie. Like I said, I don't think anybody else, like her parents or whatever, were knowingly lying. I think they were just misled. But at that point, Anna has a choice. Because if the dam is destroyed, she has every reason to believe that Arendelle will be washed away. It's going to release a flood water that will wash away Arendelle.
But destroying the dam will save the forest.
But destroying the dam will save the forest. It will save the North Aldrin people. It will, it will set things right, but at the cost of her kingdom. At least the buildings, the castle, the whatever.
Yeah,
And her people will have to rebuild. But maybe that's the price they pay for the sin of her grandfather?
a kingdom built on lies.
Yeah. Everyone else, I think, up until that point, probably did not know the truth and were not necessarily at fault in any ethical way because they did not understand what they were doing. They had been misled and they had not consented to hurt these people,
It was the actions of one person.
Yeah, I mean, it looked like he had kind of conspired with an Alan Tudyk voiced character or two, but we don't know what happened to that guy. And so it's quite possible that that guy, got killed by the forest or in a fight or whatever.
What if he's what if he's the guy that got the prince out and he's in Frozen 3?
Who knows? It's very possible. But yeah, I mean, we do see the king talking to somebody voiced by Alan Tudyk and being like, hey, we're going to pull a trick on these people because they're magic and I can't trust them, And that guy seemed to at least agree with it to the point of he wasn't going to tell nobody kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But it seems the rest of the people were tricked into going along with a plan that they may or may not have agreed with. And it seems like the rest of the people living in Arendelle did not know.
They only know the story that they were told from the people that were able to get out before the fog hit.
Yeah.
Which is, their story is, our people were attacked by people we thought were our allies.
And they're all gone now.
Yeah.
Also, don't go into that forest. The thing is it's like, once you know the truth, you have then a moral choice of what do you do with that knowledge.
Yeah, what do you do once the truth is revealed to you? Do you let the truth be known, or do you hide the truth and live the lie? And there are some people who will continue living the lie because it's easy. And Anna could have done that. It could have been easy. She could have walked out. She could have got out of that forest some kind of way and kept the charade going because it was easy. But that wasn't the right thing to do. Hence the entire point of the song. Do the next right thing. The next right thing is destroying that dam, letting the water free, and righting the wrongs that her family made.
Yeah, and I mean, you can decide whether or not the resolution of that, where Elsa comes along and saves the day by redirecting the water and saving Arendelle so that Arendelle doesn't have to suffer any loss.
Yeah, I mean, there's probably a different version of this movie where Arendelle was destroyed, and they can go the Thor Ragnarok route. The Thor Ragnarok route of Arendelle isn't a place; it's a people. But I guess they wanted the happy ending. by saving Arendelle.
But I think that it would have been a better thing of, sometimes doing the next right thing costs you. And that sucks. But we still have to do the next right thing, even if it costs us.
Actions have consequences. Even doing the right thing has a consequence. You might do the right thing, but the right thing, it might be against the law. The right thing might be hurting another person. Emotionally.
Or the right thing might just cost you personally. There is a version of this movie maybe where Anna is a queen rebuilding her kingdom at the end. And, maybe the kingdom is rebuilding after the flood. The floodwaters have receded. And people are like, well, this sucks, but I kind of understand why you did it,
Also, the kingdom could have rejected Anna for doing that. You threatened our kingdom.
I think that's a little dark for a Disney movie.
True.
But maybe Elsa saved most of it, but the upper portions of the castle got destroyed or something,
Like the village part, maybe the village part got saved, but the castle was destroyed because that was their grandfather's castle.
Yeah, something like maybe the normal folk didn't get, hit, but maybe Anna and Elsa's, oh no, my childhood home. Oh well, it was kind of our family that did it,
Yeah.
But maybe there's a version of the story where it's just not like, yay, you did the right thing, and also,
Mm-hmm.
because even if it costs you, you should still do the next right thing,
Mm-hmm. And I do like that. That's the message of the movie. Regardless of the consequences, always do the right thing.
I do like that Anna did it thinking she had destroyed Arendelle. That she was shocked to find out that Elsa had been able to save it. That they all did it, she did it, the soldiers did it, Kristoff did it. They took down that dam because it was the right thing to do. They had all been misled. And even though they were convinced that that would be the cost, they still did it. Now, Elsa, came in and stopped the consequence from happening with magic, but they went through the entire thing and afterwards convinced that they were going back to a completely destroyed kingdom.
Hmm.
Which I kind of did like that at no point did Elsa show up and go like, keep destroying the dam, I'll save the kingdom, Like, no, they took down that dam and they watched that water just absolutely tsunami down towards their village.
I mean, as far as Anna was concerned, Elsa was dead.
Well, yeah, exactly. So they all made that choice, convinced that would be the outcome, and I do like that part I'm just a little bit torn on the fact that there was no consequence at the end.
Yeah, I guess because you need the happy ending with the, Disney movie.
Yeah, I get Disney movie, but one of the things, we've talked about with this new Disney thing that really did start with the original Frozen is I like the fact that we've been having more complex stories for kids. And I like the fact that we haven't been having traditional villains.
Yeah, I mean, this is another of, we've called it in the podcast before, modern Disney's greatest villain, generational trauma. But there is a solid villain. It's just a guy that's been dead for 30 years.
Yeah, and the thing, you don't have to defeat that villain. You have to defeat the trauma he left behind.
They defeated a symbol of that man, which was the dam.
Yeah. But I think we need to, we've now had enough movies that is like we understand the generational trauma idea. I think now it's time for us to up the game a little bit and start talking about the fact that clearing some of these issues is not straightforward, and also it may cost us personally.
The closest we ever got was in Kanto when the house was destroyed, and they had to rebuild the house.
Yeah.
Now, if you're counting the most recent movie being Wish, it's let's step backwards and have an actual evil villain. But
yeah.
that was an anniversary movie. I can forgive it.
Yeah.
But we'll talk more about Wish at a different time.
Yeah. So, we end our movie with, Elsa gets to be the protector of the forest now that the fog has lifted and the spirits are happy again. And she's living with the kind of with the Northuldra, but you have the feeling that she's like living on that island.
Her and her little horse, which again also has a name, Knock, not mentioned in the movie. I don't know how they would have mentioned these characters' names, but it would have been nice to know that these characters had names. All they do is name Gale, and that's it.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is that is less the horse's name really in the movie and just the type of spirit. It's the water spirit. So,
I wished all four spirits had taken on animal form, because it just goes. Two of them are in animal form. One is literally the wind blowing a leaf, and the other is a rock giant.
yeah.
I would have appreciated some consistency, but that's neither here nor there. But if Elsa is the bridge, a bridge has two entry points. So they are both the bridge, as Anna is the bridge to Arendelle and has taken over as queen. And like I said, she earned it. This movie, she earned the role of queen, becoming a natural leader. And I will say, Disney was really quick on these costumes. Because, like, in the lead up to Frozen 2, Anna and Elsa are wearing those in the parks, Anna and Elsa are wearing those outfits from the beginning of the movie for like the few months leading up to Frozen 2. And like the day after Frozen 2 comes out, those two characters are in their end of movie outfits. They wasted no time.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the good thing about animation is that, I mean, the good and the bad thing is that it takes so long, you can have those designs finalized for years. Then we get our little post-credit scene where Olaf is recounting the movie to Marshmallow. We get to see Marshmallow again.
Yeah, and the little snow baby snowmen from Frozen Fever, and they all live in Elsa's ice castle from the first movie. And I love that those two little parts were so popular. They gave Olaf a spin-off where he's just retelling the story of every Disney movie.
Yeah.
Like when that was announced, everyone's going, "Yes, that is what should be on Disney Plus."
The before we kind of wrap it up here, I want to talk about three kind of side jokes. I already made reference to the Samantha joke, which was the surprise joke of the movie, the surprise meme of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
What's so funny is I went to see this movie with someone who, like, when that Samantha scene happened, me and all the little kids in the audience were absolutely dying laughing. And when we left the theater, I was asked, like, please explain the Samantha joke to me. And I was like, I don't know if I can explain the Samantha joke. Like, I don't know if there's, like, explaining that joke.
The joke is he just said a random name just out of the blue. There was that's what's funny. Like Anna, Elsa, Kristoff, Samantha.
But like, if you don't understand that, just saying he said a random name and that's why it's funny, like, you know, because that's also the thing, is it's like, explain that joke to me. I don't understand the joke. He just said a random name. Am I supposed to know that name? Was kind of how it was presented to me. And I was like, yeah, no, that's literally the joke. Like, you know, it's the Simpsons thing. That's the joke. You know, it's like there's no explaining that joke. You either laugh at the absurdity or you don't get the joke, you know?
Yeah.
And what's so funny is I laughed, every child in the audience laughed, and I was like the only adult that laughed in the theater. And I was like, oh, that's so weird that I was the only adult in the theater that laughed. It was like me and a theater full of children on opening weekend that laughed at that. And I was like, I feel out of place. But there are two other side jokes in this movie that continually make me laugh, which is one when Elsa is seeing like little snippets of the past and their parents or whatever, and their dad as like a kid is reading a book, and their mom like shows up and she's like, "What you reading?" And he's like, "Some new Danish author."
Yeah.
That is such a good joke. If you don't get that, they're talking about Hans Christian Andersen.
Who was credited in the movie? Like, the movie is credited to based on The Snow Queen by Hans Christian Andersen.
I mean, technically, it kind of still is.
Like, the first movie didn't even get this. That's what shocked me. The first movie didn't even get that credit. So it's interesting that the second movie did.
Well, honestly, this is kind of more how Elsa becomes the Snow Queen than the first one was.
Yeah.
By the end of this movie, she's closer to being the Snow Queen that is in the Snow Queen, you know? So I don't know. The last one is at the end of the movie where Sven and Kristoff and Olaf have all dressed up for Anna's coronation. And they're all adorable. You know, Sven has a little bow tie on.
Olaf in clothing is just weird.
Olaf in clothing is really weird. But Sven in a bow tie. It's a reindeer in a bow tie. Come on.
Yeah, he looks so dapper. He is so dapper in that.
He is so dapper. And then Kristoff is in like proper Arendelle fancy fashion and whatever, and he's like, you get this for an hour. I'm doing this for an hour, and then like whatever. And she looks at him and she goes, that's okay. I like you better in leather anyway. And I'm like, that is a very adult joke for this film.
I just like how he has his hair slicked back. It's like, he looks good with his hair slicked back.
And then what does she do? She immediately unslicks it.
Yeah.
She goes in and musses up his hair because that's the way she likes him.
Yeah. But I do.
Anna.
I do like, you know, he made the effort. You know, he dressed up in proper regalia just for her. Like, you get this for 1 hour. That's as far. And I like how Olaf kind of goes, I can't see how you can stand this for 1 hour. These clothes itch, as he's tugging the collar and Sven is scratching at the bow tie.
Yeah, no, he gets out of the clothing the second that Anna is off screen.
Yeah.
Like, he is back in his normal, like, snowman thing, you know.
We see him putting back on his little pieces of coal. Like, yeah, I'm good.
Yeah, we're done. Yeah, so, like, those are, like, the three jokes throughout the movie that, like, you know, other than the ones in the songs we already mentioned, were kind of my favorite little bits.
There's a bit that I forgot, and it's an old joke that really only works if you're familiar with how photographs work in the time frame of this movie. Because photography is what was a relatively new thing, again, during the era that this movie would take place in. So, and photographs would take a much longer time than what we have them now. So if you ever look at old photographs, it's people just standing around with these stoic faces because they had to stand there for quite a bit of time, and holding a smile for that long, no one could really do it. So the photograph of the guard and his new little girlfriend are them just standing at each other, stoic with these blank expressions on, and it's like, unless you know, you're not going to get that joke. But yeah, Frozen 2, I think Frozen 2 is a worthy sequel. It had a lot to live up to. And, you know, again, now we're getting Frozen 3. So we'll see what that is going to happen.
I don't know. Let's talk about the big question for a Frozen 3 though. Elsa girlfriend question mark?
I mean, if she is the one she's been waiting for all of her life, wouldn't that make her asexual?
Not necessarily.
I know people have been making that request for quite a long time. There are Facebook groups and stuff saying give Elsa a girlfriend. I don't know, especially with recent stories of certain storylines being removed from certain Disney Plus shows that are yet to come out and getting some backlash. That may not happen. I'd be interested in it, but I ain't gonna hold my breath, is what I'm saying. So Kiki, does Frozen 2 have the magic?
I think so. It's not as good as the original Frozen, of course. It has its issues. We have talked about those. However, I do like this movie. I liked it again on the rewatch. And I think, like you said, worthy sequel.
Yeah, I would also agree this does have the magic. It's a worthy sequel. It's more of a worthy sequel than Moana 2 is, but we will get there when we get there. But yeah, I still like Frozen 2. I still think it's a good movie. It is I agree with everything you said. Not as good as the original Frozen, but a worthy sequel. As for next week, Kiki, it is time for us to once again dive into one of our favorite directors, Mel Brooks. We are diving back into the world of Mel Brooks, not one that he directed, but one that he does star in, To Be or Not to Be. I'm going to be honest, I consider myself a connoisseur of Mel Brooks' filmography. I don't think I've ever seen this one. So it's going to be a first watch for me.
Yeah, no, this is one I have not seen in quite some time. And if you, dear listener, are not familiar with this one, I suggest that you go find yourself a copy before we talk about it, and get yourself acquainted with it, like our Dear Tuesday will be doing, because it is a very interesting movie, and unlike pretty much everything else Mel Brooks has ever done, this is a remake.
Yeah, this is yeah, that's good. I was surprised when you told me that this was a remake. So it's going to be very interesting. Also, a rare for us on the podcast. You know, we've only done it maybe once, talking about a remake before we talk about the original.
Yeah.
Probably because the original isn't owned by Fox. This is a Fox movie. We will stress that here. We don't usually say this on here, but if you are interested in watching To Be or Not to Be before our episode next week, it is on the Shout Factory app. So we are going outside of the world of Disney Plus for this movie. So if you have access to that app, 7-day free trial, go for it. So come back next week for To Be or Not to Be, and we will talk to you all next time. Bye.
Bye.
Don't let the magic stop here.
Keep the conversation going. Find us on Facebook, Instagram, and Threads at Rewatching the Magic.
We are also on Blue Sky, rewatchingthemagic.bsky.social. And new episodes are available every Monday at rewatchingthemagic.podbean.com and youtube.com/@rewatchingthemagic. Remember, the magic is for everyone.
It only stops if you let it.
We know that right now, things are tough.
But in the words of Jim Henson, the only way the magic works is by hard work. But hard work can be fun.
Check out our show notes for ways that you can help.